Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech. Today we're going to take a look at 15 tips and tricks for your Galaxy Note 20. And I have the Note 20 Ultra here, and pretty much all of these are going to work whether you have the Note 20 or the Ultra edition of the phone. So these tips and tricks are going to help you better understand your phone, and I have a course coming out soon as well that is a complete walkthrough of the phone, helping you better understand how to use the phone, customize it, and get the most out of it. So make sure to check out that link in the description below. If you're like me, you don't necessarily want to use the Samsung web browser. Maybe you want to use Google Chrome because you use that on your other computers, or DuckDuckGo or Firefox. Setting a default browser is easy. First, you need to have that browser installed, so make sure to download the one that you want to use from the Google Play Store. Once it's downloaded, you can simply tap and hold on the icon and tap on App Info. And then scroll down and you'll see Browser App right here. You can check and see which is your default browser app. Now you'll notice that mine is already set to Chrome, but I can set it to one of the other apps that are already installed on my phone, or change it from Samsung Internet if that is what yours is currently set to. And now anytime you click on a link, do a search, or anything from within your phone, rather than it opening up the Samsung Internet app, it's going to open up the app of your choice. If you're wanting to use a different email app than the default email app, or perhaps you're tired of the phone asking you what app you want to use every time that you want to send an email by clicking on a link in a website, or clicking on the Contact Us link in an app that then kicks you out into an email app, it's very easy to set that up as the default. You need to have another app installed, so by default, you might be using Gmail or even the Samsung email app, but if you're wanting to switch to something else like Gmail, Office 365 supported email clients, or maybe the Spark email client that I'm currently using on my phone, you can tap and hold on the icon, go to App Info, scroll down, you'll see Set as Default, tap on Set as Default, go to supported URLs, and tap in this app. That's going to stop asking you the question every single time, because it's going to ask you from each app that you try to send an email from, which app you want to send that email in, and eventually it'll stop asking you all those questions. But if you want to get rid of those questions altogether and send all of your emails straight into the app of your choice, this is how you do it. The high 120 Hz refresh rate of the Note Ultra is one of the prime reasons to get the Ultra Edition. If you want that smooth scrolling and fast refresh rate for gaming and anything else for the ones that do support it, you can set that up on the phone. It is going to utilize a little bit more battery life than the lower refresh rate, and on the standard edition of the Note, it does not have the 120 Hz refresh rate. But to change that, you simply go to your settings. So we're going to tap on settings. We can either do a search and go straight to motion and smoothness, or we could just go in our settings to display and then go down to motion and smoothness. You can see I have adaptive set right now, but I can also go to standard, and standard will put it in just 60 Hertz only. So adaptive is actually going to jump to that 120 Hertz when it's needed and back down to 60 Hertz when it's not. So if I'm simply looking at my email, it probably isn't going to give me 120 refresh, but if I'm doing something fast moving, a game or something like that, it may jump up to 120 Hertz. So make sure that you are in that adaptive mode, and then tap apply if need be to stay in that. Utilizing home screen widgets on an Android phone has been a cornerstone of Android since almost the very beginning. It's easy to add home screen widgets to your Note 20 simply by tapping and holding on the screen. You can then go to widgets, and you can see the widgets for any of the apps that you have installed. The more apps you have installed, the more widgets you're probably going to have access to. So as you scroll through, you can choose a widget that you like. So if I wanted to add a widget for data usage with Google Fi, because that's my carrier on this phone, or if I wanted to add a digital well-being widget, I could simply tap and hold that, or maybe add a clock. I can tap on that and get the different options, and then tap and hold and drag that to where I want it to be on the screen and just let go. Now this is for an alarm, so of course I have to set an alarm, and then it's going to show me the alarm that I have available. Now the always on display is a neat feature of most smartphones these days, but with the Galaxy Note Ultra and the Note Standard, you have always on display widgets and whatnot that show up on your screen. Now I have mine set to off, but with a single tap I can wake them, and you can see I have my widgets here. Now if I want to unlock the phone, I can either look at it because I have face unlock, or I can use my fingerprint to finish unlocking it. Now to get to the settings for that, we're going to go into our settings and we're going to scroll down to lock screen. And then we're going to go to always on display, which we could turn on or off. Now I can tap on tap to show, and I can have it tap to show screen for 10 seconds, show always, show as scheduled, and then there's additional information I can have here like auto brightness, rotate screen to portrait, and whatnot as well. So I have mine tap to show, and it shows it for 10 seconds. If I have it set on show always, now when I have my screen off, it's always going to show that, and this display will be available all the time. For me, I like the extra battery savings of having it available on tap, and so I have mine set to a single tap to wake it. And a lot of times simply picking up the phone actually wakes it as well. Now by default, the Samsung phones still come with the navigation buttons down at the bottom, but if you want to move into the future and use the swipe gestures that most other phones are coming with these days, you can easily enable that on your phone. Simply swipe down and tap on settings. And then from settings, you're going to go to display, navigation bar, and then you have some different options here. You can change the button order if you want to go from Samsung's orientation to traditional Android orientation, or you can go straight to swipe gestures altogether. Now under swipe gestures, there are some options such as gesture hints, show button to hide keyboard, and then also block gestures with S Pen, because sometimes with the S Pen and the gestures, you can end up initiating gestures with your S Pen. So you might want to turn that on, especially if you use your S Pen a lot and you want the S Pen to ignore the gestures. Underneath more options, you can see here that we can also have swipe up from the bottom with the 3 different locations. So it's just like having the buttons there. You swipe to get those actions, or you can go swipe from sides and bottom, which is more of the traditional modern Android gestures. And then of course you can do the back button gesture sensitivity. So now you can see I don't have any buttons, and if I want to go into multitask, I just swipe up from the bottom and I can go between my apps. It's also really easy to swipe between the different apps. Just swipe to the side and swipe around through the apps, and you can swing back and forth through the different apps that you have opened instead of having to go up into multitask and then swipe. Very cool feature indeed. So by default, the Samsung keyboard is enabled, and it's actually a pretty decent keyboard. But I still like the functionality of Gboard by Google better. So if you've installed another application on your phone to take control of the keyboard, setting that up is relatively easy. A lot of times that app is going to show up as an app in here, and if it doesn't, you can search for it. So I'm going to search for Gboard, and then I can open it, and it's going to walk me through the process. So I need to select my input method after going through the process, and I can choose the keyboard. Now you can also choose your keyboard that's already been installed from the keyboard itself. So if we are in and we have the keyboard enabled, I could simply tap on the keyboard down at the bottom and switch to Gboard, and now I'm in Gboard. If I want to switch back to the other keyboard, I just simply tap, and boom, I'm right back there as well. So I like using the Gboard so that I can utilize Google's voice dictation, which I find to be better than Samsung's, but I like Samsung's expanded keyboard a little bit better when I'm typing out a lot of text. So it's really easy and always has been to take screenshots on Android phones. On this phone in particular, with all of the buttons on the right-hand side of the phone here, to take a screenshot, you simply press down the lock and the down volume key really fast to initiate a screenshot. So we'll do that real quick. Once the screenshot has been taken, we can quickly go in and edit it here by annotating, making any change, cropping, whatever we want to do to this image, and resizing it as needed. And then of course we can save them. You can see we have some options here where I can mark it up, I can erase, I can undo the change that I just made. I can share it out, or I could just simply save it to my phone. To get rid of this altogether, we could just simply swipe away, and you can see the message there. It said screenshot not saved, and then you can go back to what you were doing. There's a lot of additional screenshot features within the app that are very easy to access, either using your S Pen or even through swipe gestures if you have them enabled here over on the side, the different Smart Select options, which we'll take a look at in another video. So let's talk about the S Pen for a few minutes. I have 7 quick tips here for utilizing the S Pen. We're going to go ahead and pop our pen out with our screen off, and when we do that, we go immediately into a handwriting mode, so it's quick and easy for us to get in here and take some notes and write and then quickly save. And we don't have to get into our phone, we don't have to open up any apps, we don't have to tap on anything. Our notes are just automatically put in and easy for us to access, and I could put the pen right back into the phone and go on with my day. It's a quick way to get notes and different things into your phone without having to jump into applications or deal with any of that stuff. Next, we're going to talk about writing on a screenshot. So I'm going to go ahead and take my pen out here, and we're going to get some options immediately. Now I could choose the Smart Select option really quickly just to take a screenshot of an area. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a box around this, and now I have a screenshot of it. If I want to draw on this screenshot, I tap on the pen and I can easily draw and annotate or mark up that screenshot. Very cool, because a lot of times if you're trying to show somebody something, or maybe there's a news article or something on social media that you want to screenshot and draw a circle around or draw an arrow to it and send it to someone, very easy to do that. Now all we would need to do is click on that share icon and send that to someone very easily, or just click the down arrow to save it to our phone. Now if I had a PDF that I wanted to mark up, it's extremely easy to do that with your S Pen. You simply open up the PDF and click on the pen icon right here, and you have all of the different annotation options down below. I can then easily circle items, maybe cross a few out, point an arrow to one in particular. I can use the highlighter to highlight an area. I can use the eraser, the selection tools. I can even add text. So I can easily mark up and annotate a PDF, and then I can either save it or I can send it to someone really easily. Here's the share, here's the save. Very easy for me to get this sent out to somebody so that they can quickly make the changes needed. Annotating PDFs with the S Pen is super simple. Now, if you really like using your S Pen as a way to enter text instead of using the keyboard, you can do that, and it's actually a lot of fun. So within a new text message, this is how you get the writing pad up. You tap on the icon here over to the right, the little menu, and tap on handwriting. And you'll notice that you now have a handwriting pad there with a couple of helpful items over to the side. So I can start to write in. And now instead of typing everything in, I can handwrite everything in. And you can typically do this in pretty much any application that has text entry. So whether you're doing a text message, you're writing a tweet in Twitter, posting something to social media, you just simply tap on that menu icon that I showed you. To go back to your regular keyboard, just tap on the keyboard, and then of course you can easily get back to that setting right here under handwriting and start writing again, jumping into the keyboard when you need to. Pretty cool feature. Now, if you use your S Pen a lot and you fear leaving it somewhere, it's easy to actually go in and set a notification so that you don't do that. Go into Advanced Features, S Pen, and turn on Pen Proximity Alert. With Pen Proximity Alert turned on, if you leave your S Pen somewhere and walk away from it, you will get a notification on your phone telling you that the S Pen is not in your phone, and that will notify you to go back and get it. S Pen Anywhere actions can be kind of useful, especially if you're sitting at a table with a couple of other people and you want to be able to control your phone easily without touching the phone. To set these things up, swipe down from the top and go to Your Settings, go to Advanced Features and S Pen, and then swipe down and then choose Air Actions. You'll see a list of Air Actions right here. Now, to make Air Actions work, you'll need to have your S Pen out, and you utilize this action in the air with your S Pen while holding the button down on the side. So for example, if I have my S Pen out like this, pull my pen out, and we'll just go into an app. So say I'm on a web browser and I'm looking at articles or something like that. and then I decide I want to go home, I can hold down the button and do an action and it's going to take me home. Or if I wanted to do back, I can do the other action. So you have to commit those actions to mind, but once you have them memorized, it's easy to navigate your phone using your S Pen. So I'm sure you've heard of one-handed keyboard, but did you know that you can customize the size of the keyboard and set it in a way that makes the most sense for you? These phones are getting large, and sometimes the keyboard might be a little hard for you to use one-handed, and you want a smaller keyboard. So you can simply tap on the settings icon over here, swipe over, and go to keyboard size. You can then drag the keyboard down to size, making the smallest keyboard possible, and then position the keyboard wherever you would like. So if you want the keyboard to be smaller and more towards the middle, easy. Just click done, and now you have a smaller keyboard set up in the middle. If you want to go back, you can easily go into the settings, go into keyboard size, and hit reset, and it will reset it to that size. I recommend playing around with this a little bit and finding a keyboard size that makes the most sense for you. Smart Select is one of my favorite features on the Note. Of course, if you are sharing memes or taking screenshots or making GIFs or whatever you want to do, Smart Select makes it so much easier to do that. To get to Smart Select and utilize it in the most fun way on your Note, use your S Pen and then tap on Smart Select. You have different selection options here. By default, you have your kind of square or rectangle crop. So it's very easy for me to just simply tap and drag and create a screenshot easily that I can then mark up. I can extract the text from it, or I could just share it really easily or save it to my phone. Very cool. I love that Smart Select option. But there are some neat things that Smart Select does that most other phones don't do. Another smart selection feature that I really like is pin to screen. A lot of times I take a screenshot because I just need it temporarily as I go from one app to another. The pin to screen feature will automatically select something that's prominent in the screen, which may be exactly what you wanted to select in the first place, and then you can reposition it if you'd like, and once you've repositioned it, hit pin to screen. Now, as I go throughout my phone and utilize another app, the screenshot stays there, and I can move it around the screen as I need to, and then when I'm done with it, I can either choose to get rid of it, or minimize it, or I can download it and save it. But since I don't need it, I'll just tap on the X and it goes right away. No more do I now have to also go into my photo library and delete the image there. Another smart selection that I love is being able to make GIFs super easy. How many times have you been watching a YouTube video and there's a funny part that you wish that you could just save and turn into a GIF and send to one of your friends? Well, you can easily do that, and using the S Pen makes it even easier. You can go to the Smart Select option here and choose GIF, or if you don't want to use your pen, of course you can swipe out to the side and choose the GIF animation Smart Select. But we're going to use the S Pen here by tapping and going to Smart Select and choosing GIF. Now, you'll notice it automatically puts the box around the video to begin with. So now all we have to do is choose our quality, hit play, and then hit record at the right spot, and then hit stop when we're ready. And here we have our GIF. I can now save it. I can even mark it up and add any text that I want to it. A super easy and fun way to make a GIF that I can now send to somebody in a text message, embed in a website, or do anything else that you can do with GIFs. One of my favorite features on Android, and specifically the Note 20 because of its screen size, is picture-in-picture. Say you're watching a YouTube video and you want to utilize the rest of your phone, picture-in-picture is awesome. Say you want to continue using navigation while going through the rest of your phone, picture-in-picture is great. To utilize picture-in-picture, you need to have an app opened up that supports it, such as YouTube. So if I was watching a YouTube video and I wanted to utilize picture-in-picture, I could just easily close my app now, and notice it shows up here. I can drag it all around and position it where I want and be utilizing the rest of my phone. The X closes it, or I can hit the expand button to go right back into that app. Navigation is where I really like this. If you're a passenger in the car and you're utilizing navigation, sometimes you want to use the rest of your phone. Go check your email or something like that. So if you have navigation, so we're going to open up Maps here. So we'll go into Maps, and I'm going to do a search. Say we're going to the dry cleaners here, and I have directions set, and I hit start, and then I close out. I have now a little directions widget showing up in the bottom corner, and of course I could position that wherever I want, and as I move around the phone and utilize other applications, that widget stays there. I can tap on it and expand it or close it altogether. Split screen apps is another great feature, especially utilizing the larger screen on your Note phone. Split screen allows you to have multiple apps open at once, and it's pretty easy to do that. I found that the best way to do this is to have some apps over here in your slide out widget from the side, your quick access apps. So these are apps that I use the most often and I would likely use in a split screen scenario. So say I'm watching a video and I have a video playing here. I'm going to turn my volume down and hit play on this video. And then I want to do something like browse the web or maybe check my email. I could simply tap on that icon and drag it down and open it, and now it's opened in a split screen. I can then resize and reconfigure these, putting the video just up at the top while I have access to all of my email. It's really awesome to be able to do this. And then when I'm done, I can choose which app I want to get rid of just by swiping all the way down to the bottom. It closes that app and returns me right back to the original split screen app of choice. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is some camera settings. There are lots of camera settings on your Note phone, but I want to make sure that you're getting the best quality images and everything out of the phone and saving the images in the best way. So go into your camera and tap on that icon up at the top. I turn off Scene Optimizer because I don't want that little icon showing up in Samsung suggesting that I do different things based on the photos that I'm taking. Scene Optimizer will use Bixby to automatically optimize the shot, which kind of changes the look and the feel of your image. Think about those times you've taken a picture of the sky and Samsung thought it should be bluer and maybe you didn't want it bluer. Scene Optimizer is doing stuff like that. Shot Suggestions is giving you tips on how you should use your camera differently, and I'm just not a fan of them, so I set them to off. I've also changed my save options as well. I like to save the raw copies of the images because if I'm editing the photos later, the raw copy of the image is going to give me a lot more data to work with. By default, your camera is going to take a JPEG image, which is the most widely accepted image across the board. You can also choose the HEIF photo option, which is a more optimized, high efficiency image quality, but that type of file isn't supported across everything yet. So I recommend only using that if you are running out of space and you want to conserve space. Of course, the HEIF is going to do that. Raw image copies are going to be large, so if you're trying to conserve space, you might not want that one turned on. But personally, I like having the raw image. I have plenty of storage on my phone, and I can add a micro SD card in if I need even more storage. You also want to make sure that you set your video settings to the settings that make sense for what you're trying to capture. Now, of course, these phones can now shoot up to 8K, but I don't find that really useful. I want to shoot in 4K resolution, but I want to shoot in a resolution that allows the tracking autofocus. Notice that if I go to 4K 60 frames per second, it turns that off. I can go to 4K 30 frames per second and I still get the tracking. For me, I would rather have the face tracking or the subject tracking than have the 60 frames. I can always switch into the 60 frames if I'm wanting a higher frame rate for shooting slow motion video. So my rear camera is set to 4K at 30 frames per second. I also set my front camera to the same. Doesn't matter what camera you're using, none of the front-facing cameras support tracking autofocus anyways, so it doesn't matter which setting you put it in, you're going to get that. So I went and set it to 30 because I don't necessarily need 60 frames per second when I'm shooting a selfie video. You should also set up the Pro video size as well. If you go into the Pro camera features, you can set different settings for that. I went ahead and set it to the same, which is the 30p 4K video, so the 3840 by 2160 at 30 frames per second for Pro video settings as well. You'll want to make sure that video stabilization is set on so that you get more stabilized and steady looking video. I have auto HDR turned on for photos so that when it can, it will take a more high dynamic range photo and get more of those colors and better clarity and depth when it has that possibility. You can also set selfie tone, which it gives you a preview here, but I can set to more of a cool tone or more of a warm tone depending on how you want that photo to be taken. It's nice because typically if you wanted to change those things, you'd have to go and change those settings yourself later. Another feature that you'll want turned on that we talked about earlier is the tracking autofocus. Keep the camera focused on the selective subject even if they move. What's nice about this is that it doesn't allow the camera to change focus to something behind the person. How many times have you been filming a video and your camera decided to follow somebody else behind? What this allows you to do is while you're in that video mode, you tap on the subject that you want to stay focused on, and the camera does its best job to stay focused on that person instead of analyzing the rest of the scene to figure out what's going on in the background. And lastly, I turn on grid lines, which just helps me maintain better composure with my images. Grid lines means that in the camera, you're going to have these lines across here, and those lines are nice because now I can frame things utilizing the rule of thirds. If you have any photography experience, I'm sure you've heard of that. And it also allows me to align my horizon with the camera by utilizing this line to align with the horizon of the photo that I'm taking, so I don't have to do as much cropping work and stuff like that later on. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope that you found some useful tips. If you want a much more deep dive into utilizing your Note 20, then definitely check out my course. The course is going to help you learn everything that there is to know about the Note 20 so you can utilize it as the device that it was intended to be for you, more as a productivity device, a getting things done, take better photos, just overall understand this powerful device that you have in your pocket so you can utilize it to its fullest. Click the link down in the description below to get it for $5. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks so much for checking it out. I hope that you enjoyed it. Click that like button, subscribe to the channel here if you want to see more videos like this in the future. I have part 2 coming soon, so make sure to click that subscribe button, and we'll see you back in the next video. Take care.